people that I work with people I don't work with, hey, sometimes even in myself, because I still have to check in with myself all the time, that I'm not just sitting and accepting life that comes, that I'm actually out there creating the life that I want to create. So it's not these aren't the only signs, but there are a few of the signs that we can look at in ourselves. Perhaps you can write them down and check out after the show. Grab a coffee, sit down, and just work through these signs to determine whether you're in survival mode or thriving mode. So here's one. When decisions come up or when choices need to be made, you choose the path of least resistance. You find that you're more reactive than proactive. You tend to blame circumstances or others when things go wrong. Or you find yourself complaining about life but not making changes and finding excuses because it's not your fault. You feel that there's never enough to go round and you always miss out. You don't speak your mind because others might disagree. You don't listen to hear, but you listen to answer. And you see failure as the end result when things go wrong. In most cases, change scares you. So what do you think of that list? What do you think of those signs? Are they key highlighted areas for you to take time out to think about? Maybe you've got that nagging sense that there's something bigger you were meant to do, and yet these signs are popping up for you all over the place. Perhaps you're ready to make changes and you're really revved up to start exercising or meditating or letting go of an unhealthy habit that no longer sits right with you. And yet instead of making it happen, 1, 2, or 3 of these telltale signs pop up and you choose the path of least resistance. Or you become more reactive to everything around you that's going wrong and it affects your actions to take to get to that next level. So here's what you need to do. You need to stop, take some time out and think about the signs. Are they pointing you in the direction of a life of survival, or are they pointing you in a direction of a thriving life? And if you now realize that it's time for you to thrive, now what? Well, here's the great part of it, because here's where we take action. And there's 3 ways that I want to give you to help you thrive instead of just survive. Now, there's many other things that I do with my clients, and there's many other things I could tell you to take that next step from survival to thriving, for you to transition that change. And yet these are the 3 keys for me. These are the keys that I have seen help make the transition easier for both myself and for others. So number 1, and we covered this a little bit in last week's session, for me, that simple act of giving myself permission to embrace the freedom that I had to explore and define my own life gave me tremendous confidence in myself, and I believe this is true for all of us. By simply giving yourself permission to explore and create your own personal vision, and then go on to translating your vision into passion-filled actions each and every day, are key steps to living a life that goes beyond just surviving, to actually thriving and confidently creating a life of meaning, a life of joy, a life of less stress, less overwhelm, and less worry. Now notice here, I don't say it's a perfect life. I don't believe in a perfect life. But actually giving myself time to think what that life of thriving looks like for me really gave me the time, the energy, the headspace to explore what I wanted. And I think this is key. I just don't think we give ourselves enough time to do this. So part of this is taking time out to get clear on what a good life actually means to you. Because when you look around, so many have turned the meaning of thriving and living a good life into having the biggest house, or having the most money, or having the best career. Now, these are really important in life. Housing, money, careers, they're things we need in life. And yet they're far from the only things we need. They're far from the only things that matter if we want to try and create the life that we can have if we are thriving. They are actually the things that get us stuck in survival mode. So we need to give ourselves permission to move beyond just surviving, to move beyond just succeeding in what we see in this material world, to thriving in this world. And we do it by taking action, by defining the life we desire and then creating it. Making your life a life of purpose. A bigger house, more money, climbing the career ladder, ultimately, and I know this from experience, does not bring us a life of purpose. It does not bring us a life of meaning, and it definitely does not bring us a life with less stress, less worry, or less overwhelm. So take the time out. Number one, give yourself permission to explore and define the life you desire. Give yourself permission to create the life you want. Take off those blinkers. Don't let other people around you affect you in this decision making. Look at a life that you want to choose. Step 2 is very closely related to that. Once you've figured out, once you've given yourself permission to move beyond surviving, and you have actually started to see that picture of a life of thriving and purpose and meaning, then do an audit of your life right now today. Help you get clear on what matters in your life, and then see how it matches up with where your life is today. Look at those telltale signs we just talked about. Is our life fitting with where we're going? Are you hanging on to goals from your past that have changed? Are you uncertain about your next step? Are you uncertain about what you really want for your future? Is where you're going and where you are now, is it matched? A life audit is something that just like can ignite our brain. It's a thought starter. It's a way to reflect on where you are now and to consider where you want to be. Now, the life audit I love is the Wheel of Life, which takes those 7 or 8 key areas in our life that we can use to get clear on what really matters to us, and then go in deeper to where we are sitting in each area of those lives of ours today. So number 1, give yourself freedom, give yourself permission to embrace a life that you desire. Then do a life audit to help you get clear on what matters in your life and where you sit today. Because for so many of us, no matter how hard we work, no matter how much you plan, no matter how much you make changes, no matter how differently you behave, sometimes things just stay the same. We get all hyped up, we get a plan ready, we get a vision ready, and we're all ready to go. And yet it's in the transition we find life is so defeating. I think you can relate to me, because I remember being told a long time ago that once you make a choice to do something different, then the world comes in on you to make you change your mind. Everything is thrown at you to challenge you to really see if this is what you want to do. And so this is what happens. The minute we say we want to take our life from survival to thriving, when we want to transition, then guess what? We open up that world, we open up the universe, and not only does help come in, but everything hits us. Everything hits us to really see, are we really wanting to do this? Are we really committed to doing this? So once we give ourselves permission to thrive, once we get really clear on the life we desire, then we have to be able to put action into place. The only way it's going to happen is to take action. And the key to taking action, I believe, is by starting with small changes, sometimes even small microscopic changes in your life, because that's how transformation change happens. Transformation is not the big wow factor. Transformation is starting by introducing small changes into your life that then become habits that then take your life to a whole different level as you build on them. And this is step 3. Giving yourself permission to explore and define your own life. Step 2, to do an audit of your life so you can get clear on where you're at. Then step 3, making a commitment to a new life and taking one step at a time. One step at a time until the way you experience life dramatically changes. There's an old ad that we had in New Zealand. It was a Pantene ad for hair. And it had a saying that we all connected with really well. That it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. And that's what happens to your life when you commit to creating these small changes every minute, every day of your life. Change does happen. Because I don't want you to have a painful wake-up call to have you change your perspective, to have you put change into place. I want you to see yourself as a work in progress and making one step change at a time. I want to see yourself take time out and think about all those things you can incorporate into your life right now, small things that can ultimately make a big difference, a huge difference, as building blocks to a better life. I want you to think about how you want to feel rather than what you want to have or want to do. I want you to take time out to remind yourself of times in the past when you felt like you were thriving. Visualize these times. Make a vision board. Get inspiring quotes and ideas. Create a collage that reminds you of how you want to feel and what you want to do each day. While all these seem simple, small steps to do, they are great things to start creating your work in progress. Start creating that life you desire. Spend time every day in nature, a small thing to do and yet an awesome thing to do to have your life just get a bit more meaning. Many people start meditating. Take a class, attend a retreat, attend a seminar. I love to just grab a book by someone who inspires me. Listen to a podcast or a webinar. Do something small, and then when you get a little bit more, powerful in you, when you feel a bit more powerful, do something that scares you. Now, it only has to be something small, but do something that scares you. Do something that makes you laugh. Do something that takes you out of this whole just survival mode. Because that's the small steps, one step at a time, one small microscopic change in your life every day can just start building and building and building an entirely different life experience for you. And then as you make the changes, here's step number 4. And this one is key. This one is totally key for me. When you've created the world or you've got really clear on the way you want your life to be, when you embrace that freedom to explore and define your life, when you look at your life where it is right now and get clear on where you're at and where you want to go, when you start making those small steps one at a time to build on your new life, then here's a key change I want you to make, because I bet you that this is not happening in your life. We need to start looking after ourselves. We all face the same pressures.